Um, Sadly, the only photos of my childhood that I have are those that my grandparents made when I visited them on the weekend. And my grandmother always, well, she looks kind of creepy on this photo actually, but trust me, she was much less creepy than my mother. Um, so my grandmother actually always made an effort to dress me in normal clothes, as opposed to dresses that my mother um, dressed me in. So sadly, you can't actually see me in the dresses that I normally wore, or that my mother made me wear, because when I stayed with my grandparents, my grandmother always made an effort to give me normal clothes. And sometimes she even went so far as to give me a haircut, as you can see on this photo, because normally, and you can see that on the other photos. Um, Normally my hair is much longer. You can see on this one, my hair was much longer. Um, so this is what I looked like after my grandmother gave me a haircut. And she got into a lot of trouble because of that with my mother, because my mother always insisted that my hair is long. Um, and here she was also actually dressing me up, even giving me a tie. No, that was at a dress up party, and it really felt like dress up to me, because, like I said, normally I was wearing dresses. Um, yeah, and so don't think that this is what I normally look like, even though this photo is kind of funny. But actually, normally I looked even more like a girl. So yeah. Uh, but of course, this video is gonna be about Desmond. Um or as he is known by his stage name, uh, Desmond is amazing, which right away made me question, why is his stage name in the third person? I mean, shouldn't it be like the amazing Desmond? Or, why is his stage name in the third person? And he actually answers that in uh, the introductory video that they're linking here. And he says that, well, it's actually what people called him. When he dresses up in drag, everyone says, "Hey, Desmond is amazing." So that became his stage name. Um, so it really is in the third person. So let's just have a look at this article right here. Of course, this is a blog article, but it's a good example. You think, oh, some of the things the article says are a bit extreme, and I would agree with that. I don't agree with the things that article says, but there are a lot of articles like that out there, even some by major um, media corporations that are like that. So that this is not just some random article. A lot of articles are like that. A lot of people have that opinion about him, and maybe you can see for yourself why this might be a bit troubling, or where there might be some issues. And don't get me wrong, I'm fully supportive of people choosing their own gender identity, precisely because I know what it's like to have a gender identity that you don't associate with forced on you. So I'm probably one of the few straight people who can really emphasize with that, and can really understand what it's like to go through something like that. So I'm fully supportive of people choosing their own gender identity. So don't get me wrong, but even if you are like me, fully supportive of people choosing their own gender identity, you might also you should honestly you should have some issues with this article. So I'll just read it to you. Child drag artist Desmond is amazing, is indeed amazing and hot. Yeah, see, that's the first thing where I would say, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's not appropriate for an adult to call a child hot. But of course, the problem is that if you criticize them for calling a child hot, they'll call you a racist bigot, as you can see as the article progresses. So, child drag artist Desmond is amazing, is indeed amazing and hot. Just check out this introductory video on YouTube. No wonder 11-year-old Desmond, now Polis, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce that right, and other kids staringly diving into drag culture right now have provoked right-wing reactionaries into paroxysms of moral outrage. Let's face it, when a pretty young boy tells the world he is gay and dances sensuously in front of grown men wearing vampish dresses and makeup, when she strips off items of clothing or goes on stage scantily clad. You can, by the way, you can see that in that video here. I don't know if I should click on that. I probably shouldn't click on that. Uh, yeah, this is at a male, this is at a gay, this is at a gay strip club. Yeah, that's enough. You get the, you get the idea. When she strips off items of clothing or goes on stage scantily clad, right from the off, when dollar bills are accepted as tips from an audience apparently wild with excitement, when all this is going on, we are getting far more than just a celebration of gender diversity or an innocent display of precocious performance talent. And that's great. It's wonderful that a rare niche has been found in the modern developed world within which at least a few kids can truly be themselves in ways that deny neither their gender feelings nor their sexuality. Being a drag queen or a drag princess, if you will, puts it right out there in the open for all to see. It says loud and proud, I am a sexy kid with sexy feelings. It's totally cool for grown-ups to get turned on by me. I love it. That's why I do this stuff. It's great. It's fun. It's me. I'm wondering, is that actually a quote from him, or is it just adults putting that into his mouth? Because either way, it doesn't sound like something a kid would say. Yeah. Panicky conservatives, needless to say, spin it differently, desperate as they are to pretend that kids have no erotic dimension, or at least none that is self-generated, in their telling performances, such as Desmond's and those of fellow artists, such as Queen Latasha, are a travesty in the worst sense. These are kids, they claim, who are being sexualized by exploitive adults hell-bent on corrupting their supposed natural innocence. In Desmond's case, the criticism began long ago following his drag performance at age 8 during the 2015 New York City Pride Parade. At that time, Desmond and his parents were defended by Rutgers University professor, however you pronounce his name, author of Coming Out, Coming Home, Helping Families Adjust to a Gay or Lesbian Child. He rejected the notion that such performances were due to parental influence. Within the last year, though, the attacks have become much more fierce, persistent, and vicious, stirred up by the right-wing media. Angry complainants have made over 100 allegations of child abuse against Desmond's parents with the Child Protection Services and police. And it goes on like that. You can read the article yourself if you want to. Just Google it. And here you also have the Wikipedia article where it actually says that, well, basically he started dressing up in drag at age 2 when he watched RuPaul's Drag Race with his mother, and then he was, he was so amazed by that he from then on started to dress up in drag, and He came out very publicly when he went to kindergarten, but he was out as gay even before that. At a much younger age, he already realized. So basically, maybe not at the age of 2, but maybe around the age of 3 or 4. You can read that for yourself, and it also has the biography um, on his website there. So at a very early age, you know, almost still being a toddler, he decided, yeah, I'm gay, and I'm gonna be a drag queen. Um, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about my childhood. As I said, my mother forced me uh, uh, to be a girl. She raised me as a girl because she wanted a girl, and yeah, so she was very disappointed when I ended up being a boy, um, because she was actually sexually abused herself when she was younger, and of course she was abused by men, so she hated men. That's why she wanted a girl, uh, but she also wanted a child, of course, and she, uh, yeah. So and she already had an abortion, she afterwards. Actually, again, it was men that forced her to have an abortion. Um, so actually, that's the case a lot. Okay, maybe just okay, just mentioning this a little bit. Um, Actually, a lot. I am. Yes, I am against. I am against abortion. Just like my mother was against abortions because she was forced by men to have an abortion against her will, basically, and I think that gets overlooked a lot in when people talk about the abortion issue, that they're emphasizing, hey, women's choice. In a lot of cases, it really isn't the women's choice, and that's what's sad about it, and that really messed up my mother. So she felt really guilty because of that abortion, even though she was forced into that. So she thought she could make up for it by having another child and then not aborting it. But of course, she wanted a girl. So when I turned out to be a boy, just getting an abortion, that wasn't an option for her, because she wanted to have a child precisely because she felt guilty of having had an abortion. So, but she was also a very devout communist, and not just an ordinary party member, but how do you say, an official. And of course, she lived in West Germany, but that was at a time when East Germany still existed, so there were a lot of connections to East Germany as well. And then when the Berlin Wall fell, well, she was depressed for months. Uh, yeah, she also let that out on me. So anyway, because of that, and because of her materialistic viewpoint, she thought that gender identity is a social construct, that that it's that there is no such thing as an inborn gender identity, that it's that it's merely something superficially that's acquired postnatally. And so she thought, hey, no problem. I don't want a boy, and now my child turned out to be a boy, but hey, no problem. I'll just raise him as a girl. And as long as I raise him as a girl, he will actually act and behave and become a girl in every sense, except for his sexual organs. But, in any other sense, I would become a girl. That's what she thought. So she thought she would simply have to raise me as a girl, and then, boom, I would become a girl. That didn't work out very well because I didn't want to be a girl. And so, yes, I can really emphasize with people who are forced into a gender identity that they they don't associate with. That's really something sad, and it was really sad for me as well. It was very traumatizing for me. Um, But I think people have a misunderstanding. Um, People say, hey, Desmond is amazing for choosing his gender identity at age 2 and saying he's gay basically as a toddler and starting to perform as a drag queen. They say, hey, he's great. That's his decision. No, it's not his decision. I think we all know that a child that age cannot make that decision. Admittedly, I was twice his age when my mother seriously started to raise me as a girl. I was 4, twice his age, because he started at 2, and that's just even at my age, at age 4 back then, uh, a child at that age just doesn't make a decision like that. I'm sorry. Of course, what a child can do, I mean, of course, there are cases where children genuinely choose a gender identity for themselves, even at a very young age, but they don't express it like that. They don't just decide at age 2 to become a drag queen and say that they're gay. Uh, yeah, yeah. At that age, you know, at that age, the child isn't even able to put on the drag without someone helping him or her. So so trust me, there is someone else at play. There is no other way. And of course, in my case, it was my mother, and I suspect that in Desmond's case, it's also his mother. Um, and a lot of people tell him, "Hey, he's amazing." He's saying, like I said, Desmond is amazing. They're saying that in the third person because everyone is saying that. You know, because they want to be supportive. They want to support his decision in choosing his own gender identity. Except that that's not really not his choice. When a child that young is, confronted with that, and now he gets all this media attention, and everyone the world over says, "Hey, Desmond is amazing." Um, it's really not his choice. He doesn't have any other choice. Because if he were to make his own choice, chances are people would reject him, and that's what happened to me. Because eventually, I really did choose my own gender identity. I mean, I chose it even at age 4. I made clear that I didn't want to be a girl, but of course, a child that age doesn't say, "Hey, I want to choose this or that gender identity. I decided that." Not like that. Or, "Hey, I decided I'm straight or gay or whatever at age 2." No, a child doesn't make decisions like that. A child doesn't understand what any of those words mean at that age. I don't. I don't understand how people can be so naive. Uh, yes, there were genuine cases where children, even that young, choose their own gender identity, but not like that. They choose it the way I chose it. I didn't tell my mother, "Hey, it's wrong for you to force your gender identity on me. I want to be straight." I didn't say it like that. A child can't say it like that. I said it in the only way a child that age could say it, and that is, "Hey, I wanna." I said, "Hey, I wanna play with boys' toys," but then she beat me up. So yeah, so it was very traumatizing to me. Uh, and and when I was finally able to say more directly, "Hey, I'm not a girl. I don't choose that gender identity." I was much older at that point, but that was really the hardest part uh, because everyone was so upset with me. I thought there was something wrong with me. The entire time I thought there was something wrong with me for not wanting to be a girl. I was always blaming myself for that. I was always thinking there was something wrong with me, and that's a terrible thing. But I couldn't change it. It didn't matter how much my mother beat me. I couldn't change it. And so eventually I was old enough to directly say that no, I'm a boy. I stick to that, even though everyone keeps telling me that that is wrong. But I don't feel that is wrong. It shouldn't be wrong. And that was the hardest because at that point, you know, uh, my mother didn't even talk to me anymore, and everyone shunned me because my mother also picked my friends, so I couldn't just play with children my age. She usually picked older men that were gay. They were nice people, but she intentionally picked them because she thought their gayness would rub off on me. So, um, in a way, they were supportive, but really not. I mean, they were disappointed, and I really felt that there was something wrong with me and that I disappointed everyone and let everyone down just for actually choosing my gender identity, because everyone thought that the gender identity I should choose and would be that of a girl, but that's what was forced on me. Um, yeah. So I fully support people any age choosing their own gender identity as long as it really is their own decision. And a child the age of 2 just doesn't make a decision like that. I'm sorry. And and neither at the age of 4 that I was. And definitely a child that age doesn't start wearing drag all by himself, without the influence of adults. A child that age certainly doesn't say that it's okay for adults to be into him. A child that age doesn't say he's gay or whatever sexual preference he has, because a child that age really doesn't have a sexual preference yet. Really doesn't. It does because it doesn't understand what any of that means. So when a child, uh, uh, you know, a young child tells you, "Hey, it's okay for adults to be sexually into him. It's okay to be." Uh, uh, it's just all of. I'd say like 90% of what Desmond is saying is stuff that he doesn't even know what he's saying. It's all stuff that he picked up from adults, and he doesn't know what he's saying because a child that age just doesn't know what those things really mean. You know, he he hopefully doesn't have he hopefully didn't have sex yet, so he doesn't understand the implications there. He doesn't even understand what sex is. I mean, sexual activity. So he can't say that it's okay. He cannot make the decision that it's okay for adults to be sexually into him without knowing what being sexually into someone actually means. And he doesn't know unless he had sex, which hopefully he didn't. You know? And just like with Desmond, a lot of people were trying to help me. I mean, outsiders. So, for example, when my mother beat me, she didn't beat me like you would normally beat a kid. She really beat me up. She so for example, when I refused to play with dolls, or when I wanted to play with boys' toys, she would beat me up, and she would kick me, or she would put a boot on her hand and hit me with that, hit me in the face, hit me in the stomach, kick me in the stomach, kick me in the back while I was lying down. And I wasn't supposed to scream because of the neighbors, but of course I was screaming. It was very painful, and I was screaming as loud as I could, so the neighbors heard that, and some neighbors also saw my mother beating me like that, and so of course they called Child Protective Services, but because my mother had connections to left-leaning newspapers, because because of her being a party member, um, these people who wanted to help me didn't have a chance, and I didn't have a chance of getting help because my mother was very violent and forced her will onto me, and the people who tried to help me, they didn't have a chance because they were just slandered as as homophobic, right-winged Nazis, you know, attacking attacking this poor mother and her poor girl just because the girl decided on her own that she wanted to be a girl, which was bullshit. It's just what my mother told them, and but that way she could deflect any criticism. Whenever someone said, "Hey, there's something going on there," whenever someone called the police or child protective services, she could always deflect it like that. It's just saying, "Oh, those are Nazis and they're just targeting my little girl simply because she wants to be a girl," which wasn't even true. She wanted me to be a girl. Anyway, but that's also what Desmond's mother is doing, because yes, it's true that a lot of people are calling child protective services on Desmond's mother, but what the article is omitting is that they're not doing that because Desmond is a drag queen. They're actually calling child protective services. They have a good reason, and here is a good video. You can look it up yourself. That explains that. Here's another video that explains that. That why people why people are concerned about his upbringing. And like I said, it's not because he's a drag queen, but his mother, as you could see in this article, whenever someone, raises concerns about his upbringing, they don't have a chance because they get slandered as a homophobe, Nazi, right wing, bigot, whatever. When the actual concerns don't have anything to do with him being a drag queen. The actual concerns and why, and the article didn't mention that at all. The article made it sound like people are calling child protective services on his mother because Desmond is a drag queen. No, it's calling child protective services because this guy here, for example, is a convicted murderer. Here, the guy on the left. So yeah, great company, isn't it? And also, as you can also see in this video, look it up yourself. The video is very detailed and has some. It explains it in great detail. But the concern is basically is not because of has nothing to do with him being gay or his sexuality. It has something to do with the company he's keeping, and yes, the guy who murdered someone is also gay, but they're not saying he's bad company because he's gay. They're saying he's bad company because he murdered someone. And also, there were many signs, and the video goes into that in detail. Well, the concern is also drugs, and it's not something that people are just making up because they want to give his mother trouble. There are actually some very concerning things that he's saying that indicates that he has, well, he knows a lot about drugs that at his age he shouldn't know. He knows a lot of details, and he knows how to, well, look at the video yourself. But there are a lot of genuine concerns that have nothing to do with his sexuality, that would be taken serious if his mother wouldn't be able to use him being a drag queen as a shield for calling anyone criticizing her methods of raising the child, a Nazi. Anyone who says anything gets called a Nazi and a homophobe, whatever. And that's how my mother did it as well. That's how my mother got away with it. And it's very easy to get away with it like that, And it shouldn't be, It shouldn't be a shield, and And we should really be supportive of children, of their own decisions, and not of the decisions other people make for them, because choosing a gender identity is really something that a person is a decision that a person should make himself, not something that the the it's not a decision that parents should make. And at age 2, a child just doesn't make a decision like that. The only way a child at age 2 can decide to be a drag queen and to be gay and to say that it's okay for adults to be sexually into him, even though admittedly that he said that a little later, but not much later. Um, yeah, a child that age just doesn't say things like that himself. And trust me, I'm not saying that because I'm a homophobic Nazi. I'm saying that because I lived through this stuff, and I can just tell you, and even though I was twice his age, I was 4, even at age 4, a child doesn't say stuff like that. And yes, I did say stuff like that. Yes, I admit it. I said stuff like that. Uh, but it was because adults told me, mainly my mother, told me to say that. And, so yes, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing if children, can make their own decisions and can even choose their own gender identity, no matter what people around them say, against all odds, and, really make decisions for themselves. We should support that. Right, we should support that, and not what the decisions that we want the children to make. And you know what? Desmond is amazing. And when he one day decides to stop being a drag queen, and if he's even maybe one day decides that, hey, he didn't even understand what being gay really means, and he's actually straight, then you know what? He's still amazing, and we should still call him amazing. But of course, we won't. We will only call him amazing as long as he says what we expect and want him to say. And then we will call him amazing, and all the news media all around the world will call him amazing. And you realize how difficult you make it for him to make any decision truly by himself, with, well knowing that no one is gonna call him amazing anymore if he truly starts making his own decisions. No one is gonna affirm him for making his own decisions. People are affirming him for the decision his mom made when he was 2 years old.